Hey there, and welcome back to the channel. This is our second round of the NFL mock draft. And if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We cover a ton of NFL draft content. And at pick 33, I have selected Nicholas Pettit-Freer for Jacksonville. Reason being, you look at the left tackle spot, they selected Walker Little last year. And at the right tackle spot, I have my main concerns about Jawan Taylor and his future with the team. He's really been struggling. I think Nicholas Pettit-Freer is a really good option for this team, considering he is a really, really good pass protector. He's pretty good in the run game as well, but his main strength comes in the pass protection. That's why I opt to go with Pettit-Freer at pick 33. And now you have the Detroit Lions. They're in a really good position here. They had already selected a quarterback in that first round rendition. And if you look now at the wide receiver position, they are starting to build something. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a really, really good talent for them. Honestly, a huge draft steal. But if you look at what's currently available, there's some really, really good receivers still on the board. Jahan Dotson, John Mechie. And for me, I'm going to go with John Mechie III for the Detroit Lions. I think that, they're going to be focused on building that front seven as well as trying to, work on that receiver room. There's definitely some question marks on this roster. That's why the record is where it is. However, we are seeing some overall growth with the team. They've been uber competitive in a lot of their games. So there's a lot to like about what they're currently building for this team. Next, you have the Houston Texans, and the Houston Texans in the first round had went with Matt Corral. I think they come and try to build that front seven as well. That's a main concern for them. They're one of the older rosters, surprisingly, in the entire NFL. Kingsley Enagbari really gets after the quarterback. He feels a humongous need for this Texans team. They definitely need a little more pass rush. So I think he fits in very, very nicely with this squad. And then the next pick is the New York Jets. And the New York Jets are, once again, in a really, really good position to capitalize on what's still on the board. When you look at Joe Douglas, he loves to draft overall size. And there's one guy that you can write home about in terms of his overall size. So we are going to pan over to that offensive tackle spot. Daniel Faalele is the big name that sticks out to me. Now, he could be a guard. He could be a tackle at the next level. I think he could be a really, really effective guard. But, if they can keep him at that tackle spot, that'd be huge. He's 6'9", 400 pounds. An absolute mauler in the run game. Daniel Faalele is a really, really exciting NFL draft prospect, and him going to the Jets just makes too much sense considering what we've seen from Joe Douglas. Now we're at the next spot. We have the New York Giants, and the New York Giants, this might surprise some people. I don't know the overall future of Daniel Jones. I think that's pretty clear and obvious that it's a little muddy right now. We don't know GM wise who it's going to be next year. And a lot of times when you have a new regime, new GM, they like to look at that quarterback spot. There's a guy that's very well worthy of a first round selection, but ends up falling. That's Desmond Ritter, the true dual threat quarterback, can make a lot of plays happen with his legs. He's also very calm and collected in the pocket, and he's going to have to put on a show to really launch himself into that first round status during the college football playoff. Maybe he can really lead a Cinderella story, and then he's a for sure lock for that first round. It really depends. A lot of it's recency bias. For some of these teams, they definitely look at the more recent performances. That's not true for all teams. That is far from the truth. And now you look at a Desmond Ritter provides a quarterback competition in New York. Things could get interesting. With the next pick, we have the New York Jets coming from the Carolina Panthers. This is a part of that Sam Darnold trade. And once again, the Jets are in a really great spot with who's still on the board. Another first round worthy player, Drake Jackson. He has all the measurables. Definitely going to be one of those developmental defensive ends for sure. But I feel pretty strongly that he will succeed in Robert Saleh's system. Overall, this is a tremendous match for these two sides. I think this is a great selection. Now we have the Seattle Seahawks, and the Seattle Seahawks have definitely struggled in a lot of areas this year. That's pretty clear. Their offensive line definitely has some issues. And for me, that secondary is a concern as well. And there's, once again, a really talented player, really good man guy that fits Seattle very, very well. That's Martin Emerson. I think that if they can get a little help on that back end, it'll really solve some of the problems on this defense. And it's really tough not having that first round selection this year. since it does belong to the New York Jets, considering it's going to be a high first round pick. That's the part that really, really stings the Seattle franchise. However, getting a Martin Emerson here is a nice consolation prize in that second round. Definitely going to be an impact player day one for Seattle. At 40, we have the Chicago Bears, and the Chicago Bears have to be thinking about that offensive line. For me, considering they don't have their first round pick, once again, you have to look line. Trevor Penning is still sitting here. I love Trevor Penning from a value standpoint. I love what he can bring to this offensive line, a little tenacity, and a guy that can really protect Justin Fields, which has been a concern for the Chicago Bears. I love the fit. Trevor Penning could be a really good player for this team. And, once again, this might be a team that's going through another regime change. So some of these teams, towards the top are definitely going to have some draft strategy changes, and they might not be taking off of the same old tendencies. At 41, we have the Washington football team. And if you remember, Washington was able to select a quarterback in that first round, and then they come back, and I think they might actually continue to look at improving that defense. Once again, this comes from the standpoint of this is good value. We like what we see so far. Daxton Hill, he's going to be the pick. He's going to fit in very nicely with this Washington football team, considering they have a really, really good front four for sure. Overall, I mean, they have done a nice job developing this defense under Ron Rivera. There's a lot to love. Daxton Hill's going to fit in great. And I think overall, they still have their mind on defense at the end of the day. That's their identity. That's their focus. So Daxton Hill goes 41. 42, the Atlanta Falcons. And the Atlanta Falcons are in a position where they didn't feel that they necessarily had to go. Well, let's take a look at their first round pick once again, because if you look at the Atlanta Falcons, they felt that, they could go edge in that first round. I thought George Karlaftis was going to be a good fit there, but now they have an opportunity to take a developmental quarterback because, there's really not a guy on the roster that I feel is going to take the job in the future. So I believe that's Carson Strong. Carson Strong has a really, really talented arm. He does, for sure. The question becomes, is his mobility? He's an accurate quarterback. He's got a big arm. Mobility is the main question mark for Carson Strong. He's got a great frame. But once again, the league has shifted a little bit from this prototypical starting quarterback to a guys that can move in the pocket. Carson Strong falls a little bit, but finds a really good home in Atlanta and great opportunity for him to prove himself for sure. Now, the next pick, we have the Denver Broncos, and the Denver Broncos are the beneficiaries of, having a couple second round picks to play with. And now they can just go get arguably the best player available. Arnold Ebiketie is going to be the pick from Penn State. And if you look at Denver, they're going to be looking to replenish that defense under Vic Fangio. Once again, we're not exactly sure the future on, what the direction of this franchise is. However, Ebiketie is going to fit in nicely. Once again, put him opposite of Bradley Chubb. The Von Miller era is over for this team. So adding him into this rotational defensive line, he could be, once again, a big impact player for this squad. And now you have the Minnesota Vikings, and the Vikings are in a position that they have to replace Anthony Barr in the offseason. He's in his contract season. And to me, there's a guy that was flirting in that first round for quite a bit of those early mock drafts. If you recall, it's a guy you're familiar with. That's Christian Harris, really, really solid tackler, and a guy that is athletic enough to fit into this Minnesota Vikings scheme. Defensively, once again, we don't know the future of Mike Zimmer. I think he will be fired. But overall, looking at Rick Spielman, he's going to look for an athlete at that position. Him and Eric Kendricks could be a nice linebacking punch on this Minnesota Vikings defense for a long time. Now you have 45, the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns are in a position where they went wide receiver in that first round. And let's take a look at what else is still available. To me, once again, this is under the impression that you have to consider that Jadeveon might be leaving. I'm bringing in a Trayvon Walker, a guy that is not appreciated enough on this Georgia defense. One of the unsung heroes, terrific edge. And you put him there opposite of Myles Garrett, and we've been talking about this a long time. They definitely have to look at that edge spot. 46, you have the Miami Dolphins, and the Dolphins offensively could be finding an absolute gem here, considering the season he just had. Kenneth Walker still available, and he's going to be the pick, guys. Miami getting a run game established for Tua should be a number one priority. They're definitely going to be looking along that offensive line, but getting a guy as dynamic as Kenneth Walker could be super dangerous. Myles Gaskin he's serviceable, but you could get a really great playmaker in this second round and could benefit a young quarterback. Kenneth Walker is the pick. 47, you have the New Orleans Saints, and the New Orleans Saints, for contract reasons, will be looking at this position specifically, and that's Lewis Sin. I can't say it enough. Marcus Williams, I don't know the future. He's on that franchise tag, and you bring in Sin, and I think for this team, you were able to free up some money. Definitely can by letting Marcus Williams go and having the rookie contract come in. And so for me, that makes too much sense contractually. You have to look at this as a money-saving move for sure. 48, you have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers went quarterback in that first round, but historically, they've had really good offensive lines. Let's not kid ourselves. There's a couple of offensive linemen that are going to be some fits here, but in particular, Zion Nelson is going to be the selection. We had taken Malik Willis in that first round for this team. Now you come back with the Zion Nelson. They're going to rebuild this offense. Najee Harris is going to have a really, really good season next year, 100%. He's going to see a lot of volume. So go ahead and bring in a dynamic runner in Malik Willis and also Zion Nelson to this offense, and they are going to be scary, 100%. 49, we have the LA Chargers, and the Chargers are at a spot where they have to replace Mike Williams. We had went edge in the first round for these Chargers. Second round comes by, and there's a couple of guys that make some sense, but to me, Jahan Dotson is going to be that pick. Why Jahan Dotson, you might ask? Because he has an ability to make a lot of plays all across the field. He's really good catching the ball in traffic, great along the sidelines, has a good feel for zones, and he's just a really good football player. And having Keenan Allen and Jahan Dotson could be a scary duo for Justin Herbert to have for many years to come. Once again, this Chargers offense is loaded. I think they're going to add defensively even more in this draft, which they did in the first round, but second round, they do get a replacement wide receiver for Mike Williams, considering his contract situation. At number 50, we have the Raiders, and the Raiders could be looking potentially at that linebacker spot. A guy that's a nice hybrid for them potentially. You have to look down the list here a little bit to find him. I'm going to actually go ahead and go to that linebacker spot. Just give me one moment here, because once again, this is another player that has not been identified as, the best on this team, which is crazy. Channing Tyndall, big impact guy for Georgia. Nakobe Dean generally overshadows the rest of the linebacking unit, but it is scary good. They have a ton of athletes on this defense. Channing Tyndall's one of them. Really, really good instincts from that linebacker spot, has a really good feel for the run game as well. So him going to the Raiders is going to be for me, I feel that's going to be a good fit. Mike Mayock, if he's still the GM at the end of the year, he likes to pick from big programs historically. So Channing Tyndall could be that guy. Now we have the Eagles, and the Eagles, once again, I think they're going to be looking along that offensive line. Now, that's not to say that they can't look anywhere else here, but I think that guard spot could be kind of interesting. Zion Nelson's a really good player. This is around probably where he should be going, but the Philadelphia Eagles are going to make sure that they are strong up front. Over the last couple of years, they've had a major focus on both sides of the lines, right? Offensive and defensive lines. They've been really, really good in both, historically speaking, the last couple of seasons. Zion Nelson really helps them in that. And honestly, keeping Jalen Hurts up is a huge priority, keeping him healthy. So that's the reason for taking a guy like Zion Johnson. 52, you have the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are definitely going to be looking along that defensive line, that edge spot. Jermaine Johnson, the second, Cameron Johnson, both are critical guys that you could select, guys that can really find their way into a rotation and eventually become full-time starters. I think Jermaine Johnson brings that. He can get after the quarterback, really good at containing. And I think for the Baltimore Ravens, they're going to continue to build a really, really good defense. They're going to be healthy next year, and bring in a guy like Jermaine Johnson. Maybe he'll be, thrusted right into a starting role off day one. But the nice thing about them as a team, They generally don't have to do that. They've done such a terrific job drafting over the last couple of seasons. Now you're at 53 with the 49ers, and the 49ers, to me, have to be looking at corner. Kyler Gordon's going to be the pick. Reason being, the 49ers desperately need a corner for sure. I mean, they've got a really good front seven, and the secondary is just where they have to improve a little bit. Kyler Gordon is going to bring that really good coverage guy, and I think he fits in nicely with San Francisco. And this team definitely is an underrated team when you look at the grand scope of the entire league. There are definitely going to be some changes this offseason, and they are going to probably be focusing on that corner spot. 54, you have the New England Patriots. And to me, I think that they actually look at a guy like Myjai Sanders. New England ends up going first round receiver. They come back, they take a guy like Myjai Sanders. Once again, can get after that quarterback. He's one of those rotation guys at the start of his career. New England loves to rotate guys in and out, loves to have fresh players on the field. Myjai Sanders can do that. Very well could eclipse, that 8 sack mark first year in New England. They are just so good at generating general pressure. Myjai Sanders has that upside and could be a huge impact player for the Patriots. Now you have the Colts at 55, and this is a good position for them to honestly look at the tight end spot. You have the most productive guy of the guys in the draft here sitting at the top. Trey McBride, very, very productive season at Colorado State. Not a lot of people are aware of him as a player, but really, really good pickup for the Colts. Underrated guy, can coexist with a guy like Jack Doyle. Trey McBride, one of those underrated guys during this draft process. Now you have 56. You have Arizona. They have to be looking offensive line, in my opinion, at this point. There's a couple of tackles that have gone off the board in this round. Coming back, Darian Kinnard's going to be another one. People say he doesn't have the play strength. I would agree with that, but I think next level, get him in an actual, session of a good development program, strength and conditioning. I think it could be a terrific tackle at that next level. And that's what Arizona could be potentially getting. They're banking on a little bit of upside, good athleticism. So Darian Kinnard is that pick. 57, you have the Buffalo Bills, and the Buffalo Bills have a good position here to take a terrific linebacker in Brandon Smith. Brandon Smith is all over the field, huge impact player for the Nittany Lions. And for the Buffalo Bills, they have the luxury of kind of sitting back and letting the draft play out ahead of them. The tackle spot has been, exercised quite a bit. Therefore, leaving a position like linebacker, a guy like Brandon Smith still here is really, really great value for this team. 58, you have the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals have to be looking at that tackle spot. Riley Reiff is not that long-term option. I don't think that they're going to bring him back. And so therefore you have to look along that offensive line. And a guy who's been up and down a lot of these draft boards, Kellen Diesch from Arizona State, he's still going to get the nod for me, just because I think he is going to be a pro-ready tackle as soon as he steps onto the field. Will be a starter as a rookie. Him and Jonah Williams at the tackle spots, you have to feel a little bit better if you're a Bengals fan for the health of Joe Burrow, if they are able to take a guy like Diesch here in that second round. 59, you have the Dallas Cowboys. Now, this is once again for some contract reasons. Michael Gallup is in his contract season. So let's go ahead and look at that wide receiver spot. David Bell could be an option. George Pickens, Sky Moore. A couple of these guys are definitely worthy of a selection at this point. David Bell put up unbelievable numbers in some of his individual games at Purdue. That's where I'm going. I think he's a really good scheme fit for this Dallas Cowboy offense. And once again, it's motivated because Michael Gallup has that contract year. Therefore, it's going to be tough for them to replace him. And at this point, David Bell could fit in very, very nicely as that 3. You have CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper. Add in a guy like David Bell, it's going to be a terrific trio. At 60, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers, once again, have to be looking at that tackle spot. We're not exactly sure about Donovan Smith's long-term future, just considering they're going to have to cut money somewhere. Jackson Kirkland's still available. You have to go with the guy like him from Washington. Good pass protector, is going to keep Tom upright. If you look at the Buccaneers, Donovan Smith could be the cap casualty heading into the offseason. Once again, we have the Atlanta Falcons coming from the Tennessee Titans in that trade for Julio Jones. the Falcons are in a really good position to actually take a receiver with this selection. Once again, a couple of them that make sense, but I'm going to go George Pickens. I know a lot of you Atlanta fans will be happy about seeing George Pickens, keeping him in state, but George Pickens was projected to be a top 5 pick before he had gotten hurt. I mean, this guy is immensely talented. He's a terrific red zone threat, exactly what Atlanta needs. And overall, I think he can get back to that 1,000-yard form player that he is. Really, really good frame, great catch radius. I love George Pickens. And I think Atlanta benefits from, him just not being able to play, unfortunately, the whole season after recovering from that ACL tear. At 62, we have the Denver Broncos once again, and they're able to get stronger up front. You have Devontae Wyatt, you have Logan Hall, 2 guys that could make some sense. I'm actually going to go with Logan Hall here. I think he's a little bit better of a fit for Denver, but defensively up front, they're going to be really, really tough to run the ball on, especially with the addition of Logan Hall. You look at this Denver Broncos team, and they're continuing to build something special on defense. We've seen some strides this season, and then next year it's going to get better as they continue to address it in the draft. At 63, you have the Kansas City Chiefs, and once again, it's hard to ignore value at this point. Devontae Wyatt is still available. He is going to be my pick, can be an interior defensive lineman for this Kansas City team. They're going to continue to push the envelope defensively. They want to make sure they're stout there heading into next year. The Kansas City offense will be fine, perfectly fine if they don't even touch it in the offseason. I feel very, very confident that they're going to take a lot of defense in this draft. And then finally, to conclude things, you have to look at the Green Bay Packers as a destination for a tackle. To me, it makes too much sense. You can replace Billy Turner long-term. There's a couple of guys that can be here and be productive. Max Mitchell's going to be my guy from Louisiana. I just think that this is a good fit overall. Now you can take a look at the full results here from our mock draft. And, I have to say, I'm kind of excited for the second round. There's a lot of impact guys. So let me know in the comment section below who your favorite player is in this second round. I do appreciate all the support. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we will catch you guys in our next video.